Hey everyone, Kathy the Vegan Prepper bringing you my week-ish long update of what food preservation I have done so far. We're going to be talking canning today, some seal failures, dehydrating, and rejuvelac for homemade vegan cheeses. That was a really dumb intro. Now you don't even have to watch the video. Gosh. Vegan prepper. Vegan prepper. Okay, we're gonna start really fast just with an update on the last video. So if you guys remember, I have like a gallon jar with some kombucha or black tea that I'm attempting to make with my apple cider vinegar scobies. And now I just watched a video, I rewatched a video from Rain Country on her vinegars, in which she discussed that it is possible to convert an apple cider vinegar SCOBY over to, or a mother, over to a kombucha SCOBY if you take the mother from the apple cider vinegar, which looks very much like a SCOBY, put it in black tea, and then the new SCOBY that forms after like a month or so should be a kombucha SCOBY. So I'm going to do a little bit more research about that, but I wanted to bring that out just in case anybody was wondering about an update from last time. So as of now, that jar is still on my counter and it is absolutely growing. I think it's got about a 1/4 inch SCOBY at this point at the top of the jar. So fingers crossed that I'm going to be able to make a kombucha SCOBY sort of started with the mothers from the apple cider vinegars that I did. Also, the fermented tomatoes are gorgeous. So the ones that had grown mold, but that I just added extra salt to and prayed over, they're looking great. I haven't tried them yet, but they smell and look incredible, and I cannot wait to get my hands on those. But we're going to talk about the plans later as part of this. Okay, so let's go ahead and get right into the canning. So I did, if you remember too, in the last video I mentioned I have a big box of apples that I had picked at my friend's orchard, which I needed to go ahead and process, and I did. I processed into applesauce. So I got 9 pints of applesauce, 7 of them with my Tatler lids, and these are all reused jars, and then 2 kind of new jars with their new lids attached to them. And I'm just really loving my Tatler lids. I'm not having any issues with them, but I know that some people really do. So if you do, you're not alone. But yeah, I actually got those for my friend because she hates them. So she just gave me all of her lids that she bought. It was quite a few lids. And at the time she had said that she couldn't find any metal lids, like the new ones, and I had a little stash of metal lids, and so I actually took them with me when I went to pick up those, and she got the metal lids, so she was very happy about that, and I'm very happy about those Tatler lids. So those are going to be cropping up a lot more as we move forward with the canning, because I'm running out of new jars, and I'm going to start reusing my jars and using Tatler lids instead. But yes, I got 9 pints of applesauce, and then 4 half pints, and this is the first seal failure that I want to talk to you guys about, because I had 3 seal failures in this last week of canning, and I honestly cannot remember the last time I had a seal failure. I think it's been forever. I'm pretty sure the only seal failure I have ever had in all of my canning was with a Tatler lid, the very first time I ever did it, and I wasn't 100% clear on all of the steps. And that was because it actually failed in the canner. So anyway, that's a story for a whole other time. Maybe I'll make a video on Tatler lids at some point. But other than that, I haven't had any problems or seal failures. So anyway, but this time around, you know, they tell you the basics of canning is to check your lids. I didn't check my lids, right? I can't remember honestly the last time I checked my lids. I should have. If I had, I probably would have avoided this seal failure, because one of the lids ended up having like a crimp in the side, and so it was this side here, the little lip was like bent in almost over part of the seal, and so that's totally why the seal failed. And so that little jar is just in my fridge, and either someone's going to eat it, or we're going to turn it into, I'm going to use it as the applesauce in like the banana bread I make, or something. So we will definitely still eat it. And that's kind of one of the nice things about canning, is if you do have a seal failure, as far as I understand it, they are safe at room temperature, I think for like up to 24 hours, and you can just stick them in your fridge right away as soon as you discover the seal failure, and it should be good, you know, for as long as something would be good in your fridge. So anyway, We'll get to that in a little bit. So, I mean, my family will get to the applesauce in a little bit. Not like we're going to get to that because I'm already done talking about that. Thank God, right? Okay, so let's move on to the next canning project, which is one that I've been wanting to do for so long. I made, finally, some jars of my 3-bean blend. So this is an even mix of kidney beans, pinto beans, and black beans, which I have canned specifically for making chilies. And so you can see they're gorgeous. At least these 2 jars are. I don't know what happened. I have some ideas. So I got actually 5 quarts total because 2 of the seals failed. And like I said, it has been so long since I've had a seal failure, but what ended up happening this time is, for whatever reason, I had a ton of siphoning, like more siphoning than I've seen in a really long time. And siphoning means that, in case you're new to canning or don't know any of this stuff, the water, or what's the liquid inside of the jar, starts coming up through the lid while the canner is going, because the canning process is about removing air from the jars, and so along with the air comes all of the liquid. As far as I understand it, now I'm not even 100% well versed on all of these technicalities, but if somebody knows, or if I'm wrong, definitely say so in the comments, please, and let me know, or let everybody else know. I have some of the most informed and genius subscribers who love to talk in the comments about all the things that they know, and I love that. So please educate me if I am wrong. But as far as I understand, siphoning can be caused by like 3 things. So not removing the air bubbles from with the tool, which is something I forgot to do this time. So it's like kind of another basic thing. I don't even know what was happening. I was busy. Do you hear a flute in the background? Like my daughter found a whistle and she's going. Yeah, so it is probably her fault that I forgot to do the air, but no, I'm kidding. It's my fault. And I'm just saying, I get distracted sometimes. So not doing the air bubbles. If the canner itself gets too hot. So I don't know that happened. I feel like I've dialed in the temperature of my pressure canner pretty well at this point. I know what setting to put it to keep the weight rocking at the proper, frequency. So it is possible that it happens. So like you can see, for instance, the difference between this jar and this one, where all that siphoning took place. And then another reason can be that I did not screw the band down tight enough, which is honestly, if I'm being like my most honest scientific self or whatever, I feel like that almost might make the most sense as far as what happened with some of these jars, because I have like 3 or 4 that still look like this, and then like 3 that came out like this with like a ton of the water missing. So I don't know, it could have been a million things. I don't even know. So I had 2 seal failures on those, excuse me. And so those are in the fridge, and these were specifically canned for chili. So now we're going to take it as a positive, and tonight I get to make chili. And I'm going to see right away whether or not I like these beans and whether or not I'm going to can more. So I'll just have to be extra careful, really pay attention to all those things, the tightening, the air bubbles, the canner itself, making sure it's not getting too hot, although, I thought I did. So anyway, we'll see, and hopefully it works out. But yeah, still got 5 quarts of my 3-bean blend, and that's pretty good. So I will go ahead and move. Oh, and really fast though, I want to say, I'm actually really comforted by these seal failures. Not because they happen, like that's annoying, but like how obvious it was that I had seal failures. Because I know that can be like a worry that a lot of times new canners have, where you wonder like, oh, did I really get a good seal? It is obvious. If you can pick up your jar and you're like, that's a seal. When I unscrewed the band, the lid popped off on 2 of them. So the one that had the dimple, and then just one of the ones that had a little siphoning. The kind of dangerous thing about siphoning, so I would say if you notice that you've lost a lot of water, really check those seals, because you can end up with a little bit of a false seal. So the thing came off, and I was wiping down or the ring came off. I was wiping down the jar with a wet cloth, and then I noticed as I was going over the lid, it was doing this. I don't know if you can hear that. So that's not a seal. This lid was doing that. Well, not this one, but you know. And then I went and I applied just a little bit of pressure, like way less than I'm applying right now. Like I'm applying some pressure right now, and that is staying hard in place. But with far less pressure than that, the lid went pop, and then there was no psst, which is normally what you hear of, like the air rushing in. And so yeah, that was a seal failure. But even though the lid was stuck, it was obvious that it didn't really seal because it was still doing that. So anyway, yeah, it's a little bit comforting to know, okay, if the seal is good, it's good. And if it's not good, well, then it's not good. So, all right, moving on to the dehydrated things I did. So none of this is like revelatory. Let me show you super interesting jars of various green things. They all is just dried green things. So it's just harvesting lemon balm, mint, catnip, sage. Some of this is old, some of it is new. The ones I just showed you are the new ones. And so trying to get as much of it harvested as possible before summer kills everything. But actually I'm having a lot of great luck with my herbs this year. They're lasting a lot longer than normal because I have learned a few things and I've planted them in different spots in my yard, spots that I know get more shade, tend to stay wetter longer, things like that. So I think I'm going to eke out a little bit more harvest out of these than I normally would get. So that's exciting. But I would say personally too, like if you were looking at increasing your own personal security, like food security or whatever, I think herbs are a great place to start, whether it's culinary herbs or more medicinal herbs. A lot of them are very easy to grow. A lot of them are actually considered weeds, depending on where they grow. Like they're actually, like some people are mad and trying to get rid of them. And I wish that I could like find them and find the places. And I just like, can I weed your yard for you? But really I'd be harvesting. So there's like a lot of these things are very hardy is my point, really easy to grow. They can grow in kind of a small space. Some of them like basil and like calendula specifically too, there's many others where it's almost like the more you harvest it, the more you will get, the more yield you will receive. So you can plant one plant in one pot, like on your balcony, if you live in an apartment or whatever. And then the more you harvest it, the more you'll get, and you can end up with a nice little stash of dried herbs. So that was something that I started 3 or 4 years ago. I thought to myself, you know what? I would really love it if I could stop buying herbs from the store. Now I'm never going to be 100% on it, but I'm going to think of every single one that I can think of. And, you know, like for instance, I do use lemon balm in more of a medicinal context, more of a medicinal context. And things like my sage as well, my rosemary. I will never have to buy sage or rosemary from a store ever again, unless I lose my plants. Or, you know, I might plant a new one, but like things with my calendula too, it's been probably at least 3 years since I've bought calendula, and I use all of the calendula remedies I use are from my own yard. And so it's sustainability as far as cutting down on packaging, but also budget wise. Hello, herbs are so expensive. They really can be. So it's a great way, even if you have only a small amount of space, to start working on increasing your own food security. And then there's a lot of ones too, like basil, for instance, like culinary herbs that we think of as something that we use for flavoring, but they also have their own wonderful medicinal qualities. Like basil is excellent for headaches, for instance, even like migraines, it gives some relief for that. So anyway, that's enough of that. The very final thing that I want to show you is my rejuvelac. So this was quinoa that I soaked and then sprouted. And then I wanted to like show the bubbles. Can you see bubbles? Oh no, it's oozing onto my hand. There, you can see bubbles. So anyway, yeah, that is not, hello, okay. That is not just air trapped in the quinoa. That's actual carbonation from the fermentation process. So this is actually the beginning of the process of making my vegan cheeses. And so what's really awesome about this too is I can take one batch of soaked and sprouted quinoa, turn it into rejuvelac, drain it, and then put water right back on top of the same sprouted quinoa and make another batch of rejuvelac. So I'm going to make probably 3 or 4 relatively large batches of vegan cheese, mostly mozzarella, maybe some cheddar, maybe some pepper jack. I haven't decided yet. But I'm probably mostly doing mozzarella. We do like to do some grilled pizzas during summertime. I do the sourdough, like I make my sourdough. We do pizzas out of that on the grill, and it's just like seriously the most amazing heavenly thing that's ever existed. So I do grilled pizzas, and my plan, I'm circling back to my plan for those fermented tomatoes. They look incredible. So I'm thinking about either smashing them onto the crust or blending them up and turning them into a sauce, which we will use for the pizzas, and do kind of like our own vegan fermented version of like a margarita pizza is what I'm wanting. So we'll do our sourdough crust, and I'll do like kind of crushed fermented tomatoes, and then probably basil from the garden, and then like squishy bits of homemade vegan mozzarella. It's going to be incredible. So I would say too, like I'm using the cheese making process from Miyoko Shinner's Homemade Vegan Pantry, and her book is incredible. I will say that the cheeses never really get as hard as what you're used to in a store, which is one of the other reasons that I so love to just do mozzarella, because it really does approximate that soft, fresh mozzarella that you're used to if you think of fresh mozzarella. And you just like take it and you just kind of squish it onto the pizza. Oh my gosh, it's so good. So yes, that's the plan for the tomatoes. And so I'm getting ready to start the cheeses. So hopefully by, I don't know, next week sometime we'll be able to enjoy some fresh vegan mozzarella margarita pizzas. So anyway, yeah, that's the plan. So anyway, I think that is pretty much it for what I had to talk to you about today. I hope that I remembered everything. But yeah, if you have any questions or comments you'd like to put down below, go ahead and let me know. I'd love to hear from you. And then especially like if you have anything to add about the canning and the things that I mentioned there, please let us know, educate us. And yeah, I guess that's all. So as always, I hope the rest of your day is good and your life stays wonderful. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.